podcast. My name's Grant.
And I'm Meg.
And today we're going to take a look at doing deployments to Azure. And we're going to use GitHub and kind of look over what some of those things are. So Meg, you want to kind of walk us through kind of what the initial steps are to get us going?
Yeah, so just get started, and you guys have seen this before. You can leave this all as default or turn on or off.
Yeah, we're just going to take the defaults.
Yep, but we're just going to pick GitHub Actions, and you can pick GitHub Actions or Azure Pipelines. They're basically going to be the same. Obviously, the difference is one of them's in Azure, one of them's in GitHub.
Right.
And
the steps are identical.
Yeah, steps are basically identical. And then I think when you choose one of these, like Azure is pretty good for enterprise large.
Right, it has really complete like work management and all that kind of stuff is really, really complete in Azure.
GitHub's good for kind of smaller, medium scale projects, maybe with like a small.
Just need issues and stuff like that, yeah. But it does have some really good actions. It has some good things around security. And if you want to integrate them both and take the best of GitHub for your source control and your actions and the best of Azure DevOps, that's a really good solution as well.
Yeah, so let's do pipeline demo, copy, and just ignore that. That was me testing something earlier that actually is deleted now. There we go.
There we go. Okay, so while we do this, we're gonna go over, let's see, I guess we can get our GitHub ready, have a repo ready where we can pop this in.
I have this repo here kind of set up, and Grant made the great observation that I probably should have made this empty. It would have been easier to connect, but
that's okay.
I'm just gonna copy the folders over.
So let's see, I guess we can clone that down to another folder and do that.
So let me get these open over here. So we've got our pipeline demo.
And we'll just literally just copy the code from one spot to another. So if you would have made an empty one, then you can just kind of put that on top. But anyway, there's lots of ways to make this work.
Not a big deal though. Okay, Coalesce pipeline demo. So basically I'm just gonna move all this to my other repo. Just this guy and
Boom, that fast.
Yep. And then you can see over here.
Okay, did you run .NET Coalesce at the end of that one? Because there's that one extra, right there, you said press enter.
You do have to press enter, but I just moved all my stuff. So I should go to my.
Yeah, go to the new folder, yeah. So that's a good idea.
And
then I think we have to create a migration as well, because we did turn on things that are going to require a migration. In fact, you need to do that just right off the bat, because Barry needs the database.
We'll go do that real quick. And I'll set this up.
Which ironically is typically one of the hardest spots. Everything else is relatively straightforward. Trying to get your database set up, there's a couple ways to do that, which we'll talk about, but it can be a little bit challenging.
Okay, so .NET EF applications add. Okay, let that run.
Okay, so get a little migration.
Should pop up here in a moment.
Then we can run Coalesce as well.
We
should upgrade every time. It's like, we should probably upgrade that.
I'm bad. Okay.
Did you run Coalesce?
Yes.
Okay, great.
Yes. So that should be all good.
Can push that up. A little shout out to Get Cracking there.
Yeah.
Kevin Boss, our very own rep here at Intelitech.
Okay.
And hopefully if you refresh that, we're going to have a bunch of stuff in there. Look at all that. Bam, right there. Okay, let's go take a look at what that workflow is like. So it's in that .github workflows folder. And if we look here at the very beginning, you're going to see why is it going to trigger. And so fortunately, Andrew set this one up. It's going to go off the main branch when you do a push or on a pull request. And it's also going to work on workflow dispatch, which gives you the little button in the corner that allows you to click run this manually.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, which is this guy here.
Yep.
And then you can kind of read through. This is how you would set up. And then
now there's a thing at the top where you can go into settings and you can actually go set a bunch of environment variables and do it that way. So there's things that have to be put into place and secrets and things like that. So we'll have to talk through that a little bit.
Yes, and this might become a two-parter, so we'll see. This might be a
we'll see. We'll see how far we get.
Yeah. Okay, so but if you want to just walk through what the pipeline's doing, so this is where you would set your web app name, which we have to go and create in Azure. So we'll do that in just a moment. But this is where you set that up. And then this tells you it's
building on Linux.
And then we have our build step. So we have a
grab all the code. Yep. But so let's go down to that first one. Yeah, two jobs. There's going to be a build one and build and test. So we grab all the code first thing.
Yep.
Then we're going to have to install the .NET SDK so we can do our compiles. Yep. We're then going to have to say install nodes so we can do all that stuff. And then we're going to run, do a CI at the top level. So it's going to install all the packages and do all the things that it needs to do. And it's going to show you actually, it's in the web folder. So you can see that it's working directory is the web folder.
Yeah.
And then we're going to restore the NuGet packages. So we get everything all set up. And that can restore at the top level because there's a solution file. And then we're going to run .NET Coalesce, and you can do a verify to make sure that Coalesce actually ran.
Yeah, this will just give you a diff, and if anything shows up in that diff, it'll say, oh, you haven't run Coalesce, we can't deploy.
So yeah, this is just a really great step to have in there just to make sure that you've done your things. And then we're going to lint it to make sure everything is looking just the way you want it. Now, if you don't want to lint your stuff, great, you can just get rid of that. And then we're going to run our build. So that we're going to do the NPM build first, because there are two builds. Remember, you're building effectively a static app on the front side, and you're building your basic ASP.NET app on the back side. And then we have our .NET build, the next step there, because the restore is already done. We don't need to do those pieces. But we're going to run a test. And those things should just run. It doesn't need a build or anything like that. And then we're going to do publish, which is going to wrap the whole thing up in a zip file that is going to allow us to do that. And the reason now we could have just done the deploy right here. The reason it doesn't is because we want to have an artifact that allows us to then deploy this one or more times to whatever target cloud that you're looking for. In this case, we're deploying it to Azure, but it's going to save this as this name web-app. Now, if you had multiple pieces, we have another project that actually has a couple of front ends. And so you could actually upload multiple artifacts if you wanted to.
And this is important too. If you're doing a pull request, it won't do this artifact.
Yes, right. So there's if check in there. Yeah. So if it's pulled.
That way you're doing your continuous integration, but not deploying every time you make a PR.
Exactly.
You probably don't want to deploy all your PRs to
production, right? As much fun as that would be. Okay, so there's another job here.
Yeah, we have another job here. So this is the actual deployment job here, much shorter looking. Also going to run on Linux. And then we have another if check here just to make sure it's not going to run when we do a PR. So this doesn't make the artifact when we do the PR, and this doesn't go and look for the artifact when we do a PR, because they are separate jobs, and they do need that if check independently. And then this is just going to download that artifact that we published, and then this is the actual deployment step, which is where up above you have to set up some environment variables. That's where these are.
Yeah, well, and there's a secret right there, which will go show you how to set up that secret so you can do your secrets. Now, I don't think we're doing we're not actually doing environments. There's an environment thing in GitHub that you can do, but we're just going to do it as a regular. So this gives you the ability to do like gated deployments and things like that. We have to click the button to say, deploy to production. So
yeah, but this is a great way to just get your first thing deployed, and then you can build.
It just started. Okay, let's go ahead and copy that secret name just so that we have, I guess we have to, we have to go create that. So
yeah, and I think that they are listed here. Yeah, Azure Public Profile. What was it called? This public profile. Yeah,
Azure Public Profile. Yep.
So and
good instructions. Just follow the instructions.
Yeah, there's nice links here on how to do all that. So the first thing we have to do is actually go and make this stuff, though, because we don't have any of it. So let's do that. And I think
so they have Azure popped up there.
Yep. So first things first is we need to. The way Azure works is all of your resources are contained in resource groups. So we have to go make a resource group to contain everything that we're going to do.
So just click on the add new thing, and we're going to search for resource group.
And click on resource group here.
There we go.
And then we can hit create. And I'm just going to pop it in my Visual Studio subscription. And we can call this
Coalesce deployment demo or something like that. And there's better ways to name things, like people put RGs and stuff like that.
Yes. I recommend going and you see, this is very difficult to rename.
And choosing your area too is somewhat important. I mean, we're like in US West, but that's just where we are.
Do you want to do 2 or 3?
It doesn't matter. Anyway, for this thing.
For this, it doesn't matter.
It does matter though. I mean, you want to keep, if you can keep everything kind of in the same data center, that's a great thing.
Yeah.
Or the same region in this case.
And it is important to go read up on those naming conventions, because you can't really change it.
Once you create stuff, they talk about these being cattle and not pets, so they're meant to be wiped out. So as you look, if you're new to Azure, that's just kind of the way that you do it.
Okay, great. We're all good.
Validated, and there we go. Boom.
And that's created. So go to resource group. Okay. The next thing we want is, I think we're going to need a web app.
Let's create a web app. Yeah.
And we're going to need the database. Let's start with just the web app.
So and we'll get that part going, and while the deployment runs, we'll go ahead and go figure out how to do our database.
Yeah. Okay, let that go. Azure web app. Create. And Resource group, that's right.
So that's already set because we created it out of the resource group. Note that we're creating it out of the resource group. You don't have to do it that way. You can just create it and specify the resource group. But the nice thing about resource groups is that if you ever want to delete something, you put everything that you want to delete in that same resource group. That way you can just blow it away when you're done.
Yeah.
So we're going to West 2.
West 2.
US West seems to be getting full on something. So there's just, you're going to find some issues around that. So you kind of have to poke around a little bit sometimes. So.
And then we're going to pick up.
So we are on like the eve of .NET 9 coming out, but we're still going to use .NET 8.
Yeah, we're not in, this is still preview, so until
like for another day and a half or something. Yeah, later this week.
That's true.
It's later, I think it's later. I think we're recording this on Veterans Day, as you can probably see in the corner there.
Okay, then do we want to do Windows or Linux? Do you care?
I don't know that it makes any difference.
Yeah, we can just stick with Windows for now. Doesn't matter too much for this. I would put more thought into this if you're actually deploying something.
Yeah, and there's some advantages. So the Windows side is still kind of running in what would be kind of an IIS container, and the Linux side is actually just running in a container. So they have some, the functionality used to be a lot more different. It's not as different anymore. So, okay, so the different tiers, so the free tier is the simplest way to do it. It's obviously free, which is great, but it's a shared set of resources. So you would not want to run anything but just basic stuff there. You can then, if you go down to some of these other ones, the thing that is really the distinguisher here is whether or not you get slots. And the slots are a way to do a deployment to a place, and then you can swap it in, so you basically don't have that downtime. Which makes it really nice.
Very important for production deployments.
Yeah, so just go through and you kind of have to watch out because the pricing on these kind of changes, or not changes, but it's not necessarily always what you would think. So I just encourage you click on the little button, see what the different pricing is, and choose the one that makes it work the best for you.
$43 versus $41. It doesn't go linear in price all the time.
Right. So because you can get some newer equipment that has some different options on it and all that kind of stuff. So anyway, we'll just put it on. Put it on a decent one. So in case we ever want to do this with us, to do something with this later, like one of those.
I was going to delete this after.
Oh, that's true. I guess we can just wipe it out. So just put it on that P3. The P0 V3, I think that's the 4 gigs of RAM. The $41 a month, that one right there.
This one. Oh yeah, there.
Yeah, let's do that one.
All right. Great. I have $150 a month, so.
Great, and so this will be up for a few hours, so it should hopefully won't eat through the whole one.
Okay. I think we are good on this page. Your app source plan. No, this is fine. We don't need that.
Yeah, we don't get some redundancy right now. And there are a lot of really cool ways. I mean, Coalesce is really designed in some ways to fit inside this app service really, really nicely. It is a perfect container. And it's not just that, it's because ASP.NET is designed for that. So
yeah. Okay, we don't need to do anything.
So now you can do this. If you already have a Coalesce app and you're wondering how to do it, I don't have these other builds. Okay. This works. So this will set up your pipeline. It doesn't set up your build correctly because it doesn't know how to build a Coalesce app. So it'll build it wrong, but you can just take the build steps and replace those, and then this will work. Now, it also does it differently. It uses a service principal in order to do your deployments. And so we're going to show you actually a different way. There's a couple different ways to do this. The other way actually does a slightly different approach. I mean, so there's actually a way that you can do that with service principals. You can do it with some secrets. You can do it with an AZ login with some secrets, or you can do it with the publish profile, which is what we're going to show you today, is just using a publish profile.
And I think that if you wanted to have everything just set up for you out of the box and then copy paste the Coalesce parts in, this is the easier way to do it.
Yes,
if you just hit enable and go through this.
Right, and it's really easy. You literally just go and select your repo, and it puts the actual YAML file into your repo.
Yeah, and all the secrets and everything.
Yeah, all the secrets get embedded, so it just works. And all you have to do is go update what the things are that you're actually building.
Yeah.
So that's probably a slightly, well, maybe this is gonna work fine.
If I was setting up a new project, I'd probably do it this way.
Yeah.
And then I'd copy paste.
I literally did this weekend.
Because it's a little bit less work overall.
Right.
But we're not going to show you that way because it's also not the hackier way, but like
we're just trying to show you straightforward through the front door in Coalesce. So,
okay.
We go.
This is fine.
Public network access, we want that.
Yeah. So
we can get to the stuff.
Okay. App insights. We don't really need app insights, but I'm going to turn it off.
Yeah, that's fine. You can leave it on. It doesn't matter.
I recommend having it if you're actually going to make something, but I don't really want it.
Okay, there we go.
Okay.
Now, this is actually when you go ahead and hit create. Let's get it start building. It takes a second. So what we're going to do is we're going to get an app service plan. We got an error.
Okay, the template. That's one error.
So according to validation procedure.
The region has a quota of 0.
Oh, so we got to go back and change the region. Remember when we said earlier, it's like, oh, hey, what are we going to do for the regions here? Now, everybody's thing is different. It's not consistent.
Let's try 3.
Let's use 3, see if that does it for us.
This is annoying because we just made our resource group
Right.
into.
And it doesn't really, those aren't as important. What's important is you keep your database and your apps, your actual web app in the same one.
Yeah. All right, there.
That's the key. So yeah, it's unfortunate that they tell you at the end of the process rather than telling you at the beginning of the process. So anyway, we're going to wait for this to deploy. What you're going to do is you're going to get app service plan, which is basically your server. It's not a server. It's done differently than that, but it's basically the container that all of your apps can go into. Then inside of that app service plan, which that's what you pay for. You pay for your app service plan. And then you can put as many web apps inside there as you want that will run on that. Now, I've actually been kind of surprised because we have some fairly modest sized app service plans that can run a whole bunch of app services. So like we have, I don't know, 6 or 8 or 10 stuffed in one of those.
Yeah.
So here we go. Here's the Coalesce demo. We can see this is the web app, and you can see that once this pops up on the right, you can see the plan that this is based on. If you want any metrics about performance, you have to go back to the plan. That's typically where you would find those. The app service is just something that's run, or the web app is just running on the app service plan. So there's your app service plan, and that's where you do all your scaling. That's where you pay. Now databases are different. You don't pay at the server, you pay at the database. So you have to just know for Azure how each one of these things is charged. And it's relatively straightforward, but the pricing in Azure can be a little bit tricky if you outside of some of these kind of basic things.
Yep. And then if we go to the actual site here, it'll be empty, but
yeah, I think it'll say your app service is stopped or something like that.
Yeah.
Oh, it's running and waiting for content. So it's just empty at this point.
Yeah, this is just a basic page that they've popped on here for you.
Yeah. Okay, great. How do we deploy this bad boy?
Yeah, great question. So let's go over here. So first of all, set up the production environment in the GitHub repo settings. Environment protection rules are recommended to prevent accidental deployments. So we could probably copy this directly and go set this up. Although I don't know. Do you want to set up protection rules? It probably doesn't matter for this. This is just making sure that people can't force push to main and stuff, which I want to do that in this. So maybe you go set that up if you're making this with other people. So we can either click this, or this is also accessible if you just go to settings. But let's just go here. So this is the docs for it. So if you hit settings, and then if you follow this here, so let's see if I remember exactly what this is. Yeah, environment secrets. So environment secret.
Did they? And maybe I didn't see this correctly. Are we actually in environments, or is it just is it a workflow secret?
Let's go back.
Let's go back and take a look.
Yeah. So define secret.
So go ahead.
And I believe
in the repo secrets in your. Okay, so this is just for environment protection rules. Let's scroll to the bottom. Just look at the workflow to see if there's an environment.
Yeah, we can check that.
So there's an environment in the workflow at the spot. So it looks like
this is just environment variable, and this is a secret. So under here, we have our secrets.
We have secrets for actions right there.
And we can say, so there's environment secrets and there's repo secrets. I think that we can put it under.
And so the difference is that repo secrets are kind of at the top level. And then once you specify your environment, it will then read those as well. So just think of it as a kind of trickle down that you have your, whatever you also, so the idea that I have my environment secret, but then if I want to override, I have my repo secret. And if I want to override those in my environment, I can. And so it'll take the environment secrets first. And if it doesn't find those, it'll go to the repo.
Think of it kind of how your apps and JSON works.
Yeah, right.
Similar to that.
Yep.
But we should be able to just make this as a repo secret. So this is the secret name, and then we need to go and get the publish profile for this. So get that, you can download it here.
Right there. Now you see that where it says reset publish profile, that's kind of cool because it'll change all the keys. And so then it's going to break. And one of the reasons for this is that if you were doing continuous and you did have to change, you just want to make sure that you kind of manage those things. And so doing some of the other options actually may work a little bit better.
We might need to go enable this basic auth.
Okay, we can just go in and do that.
Let's see if I remember where to do that. There's probably something that I forgot to enable.
Yeah, we were going and making it.
I hate something. Do you know where to go for that?
Yeah, it's in the Azure profile portal under general settings, so you can just go down to.
Oh, it is in general. Okay.
Yeah.
On the web app or?
Yeah, in the web app, it should be.
Main thinking tabs.
Just go to your app service.
Okay, so here.
Configuration, it should be in general.
Oh, this
one. No, it is, yeah, right there. Yeah, go on configuration and there should be a general tab over here.
Yeah, general settings.
Right there, and there's an option to turn on basic auth. So it'll be SCP basic auth and FTP basic auth.
Oh, here it is. I just missed it.
Yep,
okay. Basic auth publishing. I think we can do under both of these. It's probably fine.
Yeah, I mean, these are still going to be super secure passwords. The preference is to use like an Azure way to log on, right?
Yeah.
To create a trust relationship between GitHub and Azure, and you can set that up. It's a little bit more secure way to do it because you don't really have a password that ends up floating around.
Yeah, I wouldn't recommend doing a publish profile for once you start.
It's fine. I think it's just a different kind of security. You just have to make sure your password stays secure.
Yeah.
So.
All right, download this. There we go. Now it's working. Okay, open up this guy. So. Okay. No, I'm done.
Okay, and this is literally just a big XML file.
Yep.
It has a whole bunch of stuff in it.
So let me see if I can open some code really quick. It might be a little bit nicer to look at.
And I think they'll show you in the secret when we paste the secret in.
Yeah, it might here. We'll just.
Yeah, because it's not an XML file. It's not going to know how to format it.
Yeah, we could format it, but that's a lot of effort. It's good enough. It's good
So it
enough to
just
get the
gives
idea.
tons of information about all the things.
Yeah.
And you see some SQL stuff in there. We're not going to do the SQL stuff that way. So
yeah,
I just wouldn't sweat that part.
And
right
this is that password that Grant's talking about. This
Yep.
is what makes it. I mean, if somebody gets this, it's not good. They can start deploying.
Yeah, it seems secure enough, fairly long.
So I'll have to remember to delete this before we publish. Okay, add that secret. Now I can't view this secret again.
It's gone. Like that secret is gone. Now you can go back and download the publish profile again, but if you reset it, then it's gone. You can't.
Yeah, and that's the other thing too. The publish profile is like resetting stuff. It's not like the keys where you can roll multiple
Right.
keys. It's just there's some limitations.
Do not check your publish profile into your repo. That's bad. Keep it as a secret.
Okay, so we've got our web publish profile, and then I think we just have to update our app name. Is that right?
Yep. There's just need to
Right here. So let's edit this
right there. So we have that guy app.
What is it?
And that could also be a secret too, right? We could set that in or a secret or just an environment variable. You can literally just have an environment variable. So
Yep. So there's that.
and then that just needs to match exactly what our app name is, our app web service is called.
Yeah, that should be.
It's that web app right there.
We do have an Azure web app name down here.
So I think isn't that the same one that's the environment variable above?
Oh yeah, that is okay.
Yep,
Sorry.
so this is set, right? So you see it down there below. It's an ENV and we should be good to go.
Yep. So then we can just commit this. It's fine. Commit directly to the main. That might actually trigger the deployment.
Yeah, because it's
it's
it's triggered there. So and there's lots of things in that trigger. If you want to go in and mess with it, it works really well.
So you can see this was my initial deployment when
and it actually ran on the initial deployment, right?
But then it failed here. So the build worked, which is great, but it failed here because obviously we didn't have anything set up. So now if we go back, this one just triggered because I just updated.
Now, one thing to know is that like this weekend, I probably spent 4 hours trying to get an app built and up in Azure and doing all the things right. I mean, it can be, and the reason it takes a long time is because it's like this process of trial and error a lot of times. Oh, hey, I forgot to set this little security thing and this. And so you basically just work through your steps. Now, hopefully this is just going to work right out of the box, but sometimes it doesn't. And just realize that is somewhat normal. Like in my opinion, deploying to the cloud is like way harder than it needs to be because it used to be simple because it didn't do much, but now it's getting complicated because there's all of these other features and security mechanisms and all that. And so it can take a while. And being a cloud engineer is really a thing because understanding how this works is pretty important. So you want to click on that? We'll kind of watch these things build up.
No,
kind of talk through there.
First time, Grant.
You can be totally right. You can be totally right. This weekend, it did not ever work the first time. It worked like the 20th time. Yeah, I know. So, but it was fun. I'm glad I got it done. Although I think some of this stuff is a little demoralizing to me. I realized that it's like I just like to write code and get stuff done, like doing builds and just getting it out there.
There's so much security considerations with it too when you're doing like actual deployments. Right. It can be a lot.
Yeah, and I went the AZ login route, and so it works that way, and so there's a trust relationship built there, and so it works pretty well. So
So this just finished. It did what we were talking about earlier, the build test.
It ran right through there. All the tests passed.
Here it's uploading the artifact. And now it's.
And the warning is.
It looks like we probably have previews.
Yeah, there's a couple things here. See.
Oh, and deployed
worked. Look at that. So let's go and look at that. Oh, there it is. It just did the things.
So if you open this up, it actually should have the URL to your app service. So
we're just going to open that and see what happens now.
We don't have a database.
We're going to get a 500. We should get a 500. I hope we get a 500 because if we don't, we're going to be in trouble.
We don't want to see the welcome page.
Yeah.
We just want to see a 500, your database.
And these things can take just a little bit of time to start up. I mean, they're not, it's depending on what tier you're on. They can take a little bit of time.
Oh, great. So, this is what we wanted.
At 500.30. Now, if you get 500.30s, this is the way that, I mean, this is what happens when your database is not hooked up. And I would say that when we've worked with folks and we've worked with a ton of people that have run these things, especially in class, it is like 90% of the time it's your database.
Yeah.
It is absolutely database. And so
we can check.
We're gonna show you how to troubleshoot this. So let's go back to our web app. Okay, the way you do this is stop the web app.
Oh yeah, we should stop it first. This is my big. I always forget to stop it.
And then you go and you you could do Kudo or you can do the console. There's actually a console down there as well. Development tools.
There it is.
In the console. Right there. And then literally you can just run your app. So if you do an LS right here or DR.
Yeah, Kudo because it gives you the GUI as well.
Oh, does it really? That's way beyond my capabilities. So
and then we're gonna look for
you're looking for your web DLL, so it'll be whatever you named it, pipeline demo.web.dll. Right down there.
Just copy this so I don't mess up typing it. Oh shoot.
Yeah, I don't know if you can do that here.
Okay. This is
I'm sure there's a way, but you just got to figure out. Yep, great. And you just run that, and this is actually going to start your app right here. And you don't want to actually start it and run it here, but what this does is going to give you access to the console logs. And so this allows you to see what is actually going on. And as far as I'm concerned, and this works in both Linux and Windows, this is the best way that I've found to debug those. There are some logs and things like that, but I find it's very spotty whether you actually get the content. And so this is the error log for starting up your SQL server. So it has a problem establishing a network related error. It was not.
Yeah, the server's not found, which makes sense. We didn't make a server.
Okay, so let's go build ourselves a server. So we go back to our resource group. Let's go build that.
All right. So here we just hit create again, and we're going to make a.
So we need a SQL server.
Yeah.
SQL database. We can just do that. We don't even have to make the server because the database, well, the server can be made.
Can we make it?
Yeah, sure.
SQL database.
You gotta be really careful on this because if you choose the wrong plan, it can be very expensive. And it automatically puts you like on a pretty big one. So
yeah, it's always like, oh, you want this.
You want the massive one that's like $400 a month.
Okay, so resource group, that's not right. Resource group is this one. I'm surprised it didn't get that right.
It should have, right, coming out of that just.
Okay,
that's a bug.
Databases have specific naming conventions.
Very picky.
So we'll follow it, but it's like lowercase and dashes or something.
Yeah, again, it's pretty limited.
We're not naming things correctly here. We're just putting them in because I'm going to trash all this. Select a server. So I think
so we're going to make new. Yeah, right there. Just make a new one.
This deployment demo.
And then put like an SVR or something after the end, just so we know that we can tell the difference. Because sometimes it's a little bit hard to tell. Now, this is where we try to get them in the same. But it's US West 3. Remember, we couldn't do it in US West 2.
No, I put the app in Web 3.
Yeah, US West 3, right? The app is in
But then it wouldn't let me put it in 3, so it's in 2.
Oh, well, now I have to. Well, but it's in 2. Well, we're just going to put it in. I don't know. So let's see. So there's a way to do this. You have to open a ticket.
The biggest issue here, though, is that I'm just on like a free, might be a subscription. Like if you're on a real subscription,
inside an org,
you're not going to have a problem.
Yeah,
this is just because I'm on a free subscription and they don't like me. We'll put it in 3 and see if that works. Okay, this is important down here. So
yeah,
how you're gonna connect.
So there's the right way to do this, and there's the easy way to do this.
We'll do the easy way.
Well, yeah, okay. So let's just kind of talk through the right way and the easy way. So the right way is you go in, at least in my opinion, the right way to do that is you actually, you go in and you set your web app to run under a service principal, right? So you have an identify, you run it under an Azure identity and it creates that for you. There's just a spot to do that. And then you create a group and that becomes your admin group. And then you give your database, you make that the administrator. And you know what we could do? We could just let the administrator be the app name.
That's what I'm thinking.
We can just do that. The other way to do it is with SQL auth, which really is not recommended. I mean, let's do it that way. Let's just remove the group from the middle because that gets a little bit
so the group is important if you need to be connecting to your database, and you need to be available.
So then you put yourself in the group, and that way you can connect to the database. Because otherwise, you basically have one user effectively is what's going on here. And so you can by having that group that is effectively your admin group. So.
We probably have to go make it.
We have to make it. So we have to go set it. So we don't have this yet. So we can actually pop up and open a new window and do that if you want.
Yeah, let me get there.
We should go ahead and do this.
So we just have to go back to our web app.
Yeah, just pop into the web app and
get there in just a second.
And because we have tons of stuff in Azure, we kind of have to move stuff around, kind of tricky, so we don't expose all the things.
Yeah,
trying to kind of go around these things. Yeah, pull that over and we should be good to go. But yeah, so that's just to explain that a little bit more. If you have to go into Enter ID, make a group, make a security group, and then you add either like yourself and then whatever the service principal is that's running the web app, which we'll show you what that is in just a second. So identity, search for that, and this is what's running. And right now, it's just running as just an inaccessible user. But if you say on, and then you do a system assign managed identity, and it'll just create a managed identity, and there's your service principal right there.
This. And hopefully it will update nicely.
And it'll find it.
Good.
There it is. Boom.
We're gonna have to refresh the page.
And so this is our admin, right, for the database.
Yeah.
And so this way you don't have to have a password. Otherwise, you have to kind of include that SQL, your password.
The other way to do this is you can put this guy in a group, and then you can do it.
Right, and then do it the group, right? Which is that's the way we typically do this, but this will work for right now.
Okay, so the only thing we want to make sure here is this.
Choose your subscription carefully.
Yes. So let's see. This is, so you can see this actually isn't too bad right here for.
Oh no, that's great. This is perfect. Yeah, they didn't choose a massive something. Yeah, right. Every once in a while, you be really careful, especially when you copy a database or something like that. Yes. Just make sure you go in and check.
So we can say with this, we're not going to be really using it, so it doesn't matter too much. Okay, this is fine. Security is fine. We don't need a ledger. We don't need to do Defender. We don't have an existing database. No tags. We'll be on create. Okay.
Great.
Make that.
Now this will take a minute. It's creating a server and as well as a database, so you get both pieces.
So this will pretty much just work after we hook up the connection string because we've got
it should
the off working.
We'll see how it goes.
It should work.
Yeah, it's pipeline work. There's just a lot of little complicated bits, but hopefully we're going to get this through the first time because we've both done this like more times than we can count.
I've actually never done with the Coalesce pipeline, so
yeah, not this particular way, but
both of our first times using this.
This particular thing. We've done plenty of these Azure deployments. I'll tell you that.
Deployments.
And
they're all about the same. The pipeline itself is really just a.
So yeah, don't feel bad if it takes you a few shots to get through this, because if you're new to Azure, again, it's not trivial. And I think hopefully we're going to make this look really easy, and it'll be a piece of cake.
And then you guys are going to try and follow. It's going to be.
It's like, oh, it's not working that way, and that just unfortunately sometimes happens. But in the end, it's worth it. Now you can deploy this to the server under your desk if you want. And just put it up online using dynamic DNS or something like that. But doing it in Azure makes it really easy and so easy to scale.
Yep. And please feel free to leave comments if you guys run into issues.
Yeah, we'll try to respond to those. So. Okay, so it's almost there. We just have to go get our connection string once this thing opens, because it should just be basically ready. It's going to create us. So we're just getting a server and we're getting a blank database inside that server. And then from there, because we're using Entity Framework, it's going to automatically, when we start up, create the database schema for us. And so that's a really nice feature. So
we're almost there.
Okay, should be almost there. Getting done. Sometimes these things take just a little bit.
Yeah, the database, for some reason, I feel like always takes the longest. Yeah. Which I mean, maybe not.
There we go. Done.
That's interesting.
This is done, but that's not done. Oh, there it is. Now we can click go to resource.
Yeah. It is in my resource group, so I'm just going to come back here and refresh. But you can also click the go to resource. So
there's our server, and you can tell the server by the little gear by it, and then the actual database is the one without the gear.
so we want this to get our connection string.
Yep.
We can go here, and there's
We want the
a couple
top one.
options. Yeah, we want the top one because we set up that identity. You can also do this with passwords, but we don't want to do
Yeah,
it.
SQL auth. There's a lot of there are so many auth options.
Yeah.
It's dizzying sometimes.
Too many.
So we're going back to this guy, and we have to go create a in our settings. We're going to go in and do environment variables.
Yeah,
They just move this around. This is new UI, and then it has to be in connection strings. Like so,
Yeah.
even though these are in you're getting this is basically we're pulling right out of the app settings file, the app settings JSON file. This is what this is basically overriding. So if you look at the startup in Coalesce, you're going to see that it's going to pull off the regular config file, but then it's going to use environment variables, and they're going to override all those things.
Yeah, let's just.
So we can just go in and take a look at that real quick, because I think that's kind of important to understand exactly how that works.
Where's that previous code?
Just open that one.
So this guy here. See.
Yeah.
So we want to override our. So it's connection strings, and then we just need to do default connection. Typically, you do connection string underscore default connection.
But connection strings are handled
If
separately.
we're not doing a connection string, sorry.
Right.
So authentication, if you put stuff under here, it'd be authentication underscore whatever it is for the hierarchy. But here we're just doing.
So in here, you actually added in the connection string section. And then it's really important that you select a type. So Azure SQL Azure is what you're doing here. And that should do it. And then that slot setting just means, is this pinned to the slot or is it not? So if you have because the slots can swap around. And so if you select that checkbox, it means that it's going to stay with the slot and not move with the app that's inside of it.
So if you were doing a slot swap and you had two separate databases for your slots, you wouldn't want.
Yeah,
you'd
want to check those boxes so that they stayed. Otherwise, those settings will go with the swap as a swap. So if you have a staging environment.
Then you'll crash.
Yep. Okay. So now what we should have to do is start it.
Yeah. So I think when you save, it does a restart.
Well, it didn't
But
because it wasn't running. We already had it stopped.
We stopped it. I forgot.
Yeah. And there's a multi-step save. Meg kind of went through that fast, but you have to hit save and then you hit apply, and then there's 2 or 3 steps you have to do there, right? Because if you don't, it actually just won't save the setting, and so then you're going to be stuck.
Yep.
So yeah, let's go ahead and roll the proverbial dice and see if this thing is going to work.
It should be on. It's loading.
Yep, and it takes just a bit, because now we're actually creating the database, it's having to start everything up, there's a lot of stuff going on, and it doesn't look like it did, so we must have messed something up with how we set up our auth, which is almost always the problem. So we go stop our database, stop the app from running, so we don't have multiple ones running in the background.
It's okay.
Open up the console, and we'll just run that command again.
Pipeline. Oh, I know. I had it here.
Is it pipeline demo?
It is pipeline demo. Okay.
There you go. Let's see what it does.
Okay, what do we have? So, connection was denied. Okay.
Oh, here's the reason. So the reason is, go ahead, Meg, you want to take that one?
I mean, you probably ran into this weekend, but
I did.
Basically, not on it's on our SQL server.
See, SQL servers are secured by default, and there's this one setting you have to go in, and we should have just seen this ahead of time, but
let's go.
But yeah, so what you have to do is there's a setting that says, do you want to allow any other resources to get to this? And effectively, it's a firewall. And we can open it up to other Azure resources. You can use a VNet, or you can use a specific set of IP addresses. And so those are all options. We're just going to go ahead and let other Azure services go ahead and use this. And so that's what we're going to go ahead and do.
Here on our SQL server,
we're back at the server level, right? So that's where we are.
No, it is network.
I think it's networking now. Yeah, these things move around a little bit. So
public network access.
Well, we want to set up the allow for Azure networks, right? So go into maybe it is in the firewall settings. Yeah. I click on connectivity. Maybe is that where I don't know where
I know
this just moved around.
SQL server. No, it's under where you put all the firewall.
And it's up at the top. If you go to the main page, I think it's the overview. I think there's an option to add firewall.
They did.
This has just all been moved around, so I don't remember where it is.
Where do you put the? Oh no, it's not on the server, is it? It's on the
Is it on the actual app?
Yeah.
Or the database? Sorry,
we're lost. Oh my gosh.
Oh, set server firewall right there at the top. Yeah. So this is yeah.
It's
Anyway.
on the,
It's on the actual server or on the actual.
oh no, it
database.
is, yeah.
It takes you back to the server. Yeah, here it is.
Oh, yeah, this is what we want. Sorry.
Selected
this
networks.
was-
Sorry, not all
And
networks.
then
Selected
we
networks.
want this button.
Yeah, we could have just done that right the first time.
Where's-
Exceptions allow Azure services and resources to access the server. So it is at the server level.
I'm used to seeing this part. That
Right.
When it was disabled, I was like, where's the?
Yeah, then this has been changed. But there, you can set a firewall rule. So if you want to connect to this, if you go and do the group route and you want to connect to it, you have to do that thing.
Yeah, you add your client.
Yeah, your client IP address, and it has to be an IPv4 address, which I have a v6 address actually when I work from home. And so it's a little bit crazy. But now we can either go and try to run it from the command line again, or we just hit the start button because we all know this is going to work the first try now. Or second try. I think we're just on the second try. So I think if we get this in 3 tries, I'm feeling pretty good.
That's really good actually to get.
Since it
get
took me
your
a
deployment working.
dozen tries.
Look.
Look at this. Perfect. Now, the reason you can't sign in is because we don't have any auth set up. But
I'm
what
actually
this,
surprised it didn't crash from that.
yeah, it just doesn't
The
have,
apps
there just is no.
aren't set up right. But anyways, this
Yep.
is great. If you go and set up your keys to log in, then you'll be able to
Yep.
actually get to your app. But it is running and it's all deployed.
Yeah, and if we go and look at our database, let's go look at that real quick. Let's just pop that open, just so you can kind of see, just if you're unfamiliar with Azure. So if we go back to our database, so go back to our resource group and let's take a look.
This guy here.
Okay, great. And then we can just use those database tools.
Yes.
Yeah, go ahead and click on that. And then query editor. Although, we're not going to be able to.
Yeah, because we're
It's
not.
not going to work. We don't. So this is a really interesting issue is that if you go to your query editor, it's actually not going to work because there is no way for you to log into this database because the only user that can log in is the app service,
Yeah.
which is kind of nice. I mean, as much as these things are a little bit of a hassle, it's secure. And that's why these are hard, is because you're actually making things that are pretty secure.
Yeah.
So
But just go pop yourself into that group and
yeah, make yourself a group and do it that way. And so, hey, I think we got a working app.
it's working. If you guys want to get this part working, just go watch maybe our past
A
video.
couple of apps ago, a couple of videos ago,
One of those.
we did on how to set up your sign-ins and all
Yeah.
that kind of
And
jazz.
this will
So
work. And it'll be great.
anyway, well, hey, we hope that was helpful and kind of getting an app all deployed all the way out to Azure. And it can be a little bit challenging at times, but I think if you just have a little persistence and hopefully follow these steps, you'll get there. If you have any questions, feel free to shoot us a comment. We'll see if we can get back to you and give you some help on that. So anyway, until next time, keep on building awesome Coalesce apps and deploying them out to Azure.
Yeah. Thank you.